Okay, so I'm at the stage where now it's all fabricated and welded. So I got myself a synthetic grinder pad. I got a case of them. I'm going to use this to take off the surface rust and the paint that's on there. And as you can see, everything started to surface rust really quick. And this, I'm going to show you how easy this works. Okay, so you see how nice, look at the difference from here to here. That strips it real fast. I'm going to strip the top, I'm going to strip the bottom, and I'm going to go on the inside of every one of my tubing, horizontal and vertically, get it all done nicely. Then I'm going to go ahead and blow it off, wipe it off. I'm going to use paper towels with mineral spirit on it, get any kind of grease or anything on it, and then I'm going to go ahead and paint it. So I got a lot of work to do, and what I do is I start from the shady side and I move to the sunny side because it's been in the 90s. I got a canopy over me, so when the sun starts moving, the shade starts going that way. It doesn't always work out, but just a little bit of shade goes a long way. So let me get to work on this and I'll get back to you. Okay, so I need to remove the gasket so I can sand and paint in here. So this is an easy way to do it. Just like that. Okay, so I removed the weather stripping because I got sand and paint in there. If I want to put this back on, all I need is double-sided tape, or I could purchase new. It depends on what the cost is. Okay, so I went ahead and finished sanding the inside, the outside, and all the corners. Then I went ahead and took my compressor with a blower attachment. I blew all the dust out of the trailer, off of the metal. I used mineral spirits and wiped it down all the way around, nice and smooth, no more anything on it. Now I got some Rust-Oleum, a tray for the Rust-Oleum, a little small brush or roller, and a plastic bag. Once you take, I got to do the outside first, let it dry before I could bring it down and do the inside. Plus, hopefully the sun won't be on me. So what you do when you're painting, you take this and you put it in a baggie, and it stays wet and moist for a couple days. Just do that. So with that said, I'm going to start painting. So I'm just taking the roller and I'm getting in all the squares and the corners. And I'm using the roller instead of spray paint, so the spray don't get all over, and it's less expensive and goes further, and you got complete control. And to get in the corners, you just push the round part in before you start, like that. And Then you do the flat side to the corner, all the way across. So this is Rust-Oleum oil-based paint, so it's going to last a long time. Plus, there's going to be sheeting and plywood, so that's going to be like indoors, so to speak. So I don't want to get any paint on the camera. Let me go ahead and finish, and I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, so I finished the outside, and I did all the insides of the tubing. Now I have to let that dry. And once it dries, I'm going to pull that door down, and then I'm going to go on top, and I'm going to paint the top side of it first coat. Then when that dries, I'll do it all over again, give it 2 coats. But all in all, it's looking good. Looks like it's going to be a nice sturdy ramp. It's protected with Rust-Oleum, so it should last a long time. Now down here, the hinges don't come off, they're welded on. But I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to paint around them and paint the bottom. So it's going to be done in stages. You really can't get around that with the roller. But first I want to do the roller and give it 2 coats. Then I'll worry about the hinges down below. And I have to do a little bit more sanding down below the hinges. And that's perfectly okay. I'll get back to you. Okay, making progress. I have the back side, the top side, and everything in between. All first coat, all around where the stripping is going to go, and all around down there. I still got to do in there, but that's another time. That's going to have to be sanded by hand because the machine can't get in there. Okay, so all in all, I think it's looking really good. What do you think? Still got a little bit more work to do though. And I have that being held down by a block and my lawnmower, because the door would automatically close. So as you can see, it's moving with the block. And I got rope here, and I could not do under the string, but I'll get that later. Okay, they say 4 hours for the outside coating to get to where you could touch it, and 4 days for it to cure. So let's see if I could touch it in a few hours and how long before I could shut this gate. Okay, so I went ahead and painted the ramp tubing, gave it 1 whole coat. It came out great using Rust-Oleum oil-based paint. Moved the door up, did the back side. When it dried, it takes about 4 hours to 5 hours to dry, enough to where you can give it a second coat. It takes up to 4 days to cure totally. That's a different issue, but that's okay. It's just got to be to the touch. So what I'm going to do this morning is I opened up the door. I have my blowers on. I'm in Florida. The temperature is great. Right up into the seams over here where I put 2 tubes together. I'm going to take another new brush and go down the seams, because when you roll it, the bristles don't go all the way down, but this will get all the way down. That way it doesn't start to rust over there. So I got these cheap brushes on Walmart.com. They deliver my groceries and stuff, so they're great. You could go ahead and order anything on Walmart.com and they'll deliver it the same day within like 3 hours. Fantastic. So I already used 2 brushes, Here's another one, because after you use it, they're only 90 something cents. They're not worth trying to clean, especially with oil-based paint, so you throw it out. So I'm going to use this one just to do all those seams. I'm going to let it dry for 4 hours. Then I'm going to go ahead and put the plywood on, lift it up, and put the sheet metal on. So if you want to see how this came out, look how nice the surface is. Nice and shiny. It feels nice and smooth. That Rust-Oleum oil-based paint works great. I don't think that this is going to rust for a long time, if ever. This is even better than what the factory did. They just put a little black spray on it. And remember, this is going to be sandwiched in between the 3/4 inch plywood on top and the sheet metal on the back. So you're really not going to get any weather in there. Now, I removed all the weather stripping around using one of those saws that vibrate back and forth. And it went down into the glue strip and removed it, so I saved them. Because if you go on like eTrailer.com and you look at the weather stripping for a pull down ramp door, they're like $275 just for the weather stripping. So I removed it. So I'm going to go ahead and clean those up, make sure there's no residue on it, dry them, and then I'm going to use double-sided tape and tape them back on here. And all I got to do is pay like $20, $25 for the double-sided tape. That sure does beat $275, I'll tell you. So when you go to remove your weather stripping, don't rip it off, because you're going to have to pay $275 or more. Anyways, let me get the paint in. That way it could dry. And then we'll put the plywood on it. And then we'll put the sheet metal on it. And test out the ramp. Okay, so I'm going to do the whole thing like that just so it gets into that little bevel. Okay, so I went around, did the tops of them all, and when I did the joints where the welds were, I made sure that I tapped around the weld and made sure all the welds were covered really nice all the way around. I did the same thing with the other side and the smooth part of the weld. That way the weld is protected from rust as well. You don't want your welds to start rusting. So when I ground it down and smoothed it out, they were nice. I made sure they were coated. And I did the ramp where the metal is, the bumper on the back of the trailer. I sanded that down the other day, and I just gave that another coat. Although when this is up, I'll have to get down in there with some hand sandpaper to get around and behind the hinges, because they're welded on, they're not removable. And when I sand all that down, I'm going to go ahead and hand paint all that and get that coated real nice since I'm on to the project. So that's about it as far as the fabricating and the painting with oil-based paint. I love this paint. Looks like it does a great job. Soon as this dries in about 4, 5, 6 hours in the sun, we're going to go ahead and put that wood and sheet metal on. I can't wait to go ahead and test it out. Now, the old ramp door, when you buy a trailer, even though they say, you know, this amount of weight and all that, the doors flex a little. When you pull something heavy on there, you'll kind of see it flex a little. In my case, I drive a tractor up so I could transport it, and I seen it flex, and then it lasted a while. The way I did this with the 1/8 thick tubing. I shouldn't get any kind of a bend at all, I wouldn't think. It's definitely thicker than what they had on there, because when I was welding in between where I had them sandwiched together, my new tubing never burned through, and their tubing I had to watch because it burned through a few times, and I seen the thickness. So I would start the weld on the thicker tubing and push it over to the thinner, do a half a moon. It worked out great. So I could have cut all their tubing off and just added mine, and it would have been fine. I left both of them on, so it's even stronger. All I needed to do was get a heavy duty dual spring assist. That way this lifts up like butter on its own and yet stays down. It's going to be a nice trailer ramp door. I agree, it's an overkill, but I'd rather have an overkill than have that problem again.